Good afternoon, everybody. We're here debate day at Hofstra University in Hempstead, New York. Lovely Hempstead, New York. Brett Logerato, executive editor
Beautiful
of Business
Hempstead.
Insider, here with Alan Smith, one of our politics reporters, and we are here to talk to you about the debate tonight, which should be a real wow moment.
I don't know, Brett. I think we're going to get plenty of this tonight. There's going to be plenty of this at the debate.
I think we'll get a lot of reactions. So, speaking of which, you should react to this Facebook Live with however you feel about it, and you should ask us questions.
Totally fine reaction to post. This is more than okay.
Questions, comments, concerns, we'll be following along here, and we'll try to address some of them on here. But obviously you guys can see some of what's going on behind us. Everyone's gearing up for the big debate tonight. The first time that Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are taking the stage together to square off. 90 minutes uninterrupted. By all predictions, it's going to be some kind of slugfest, and it really sort of a global phenomenon is finally here. So, I guess, Alan, with all of that said, what are we looking for in general going into tonight?
Yeah, I mean, and obviously, first, this event's just been so hyped. I mean, more so than almost any event I can imagine. And when events tend to get this much hype, sometimes they disappoint. I'm going to go ahead and say that, tonight's Saints-Falcons game is not going to disappoint. No, I mean, the presidential debate, it's going to be it's going to be everything it could possibly everything it could possibly be. I mean, this is going to be one of those rare occasions where an event is super hyped and it doesn't disappoint in any way. No one knows what Donald Trump's going to be bringing to the table tonight. There are a lot of rumors circulating right now that he's going to be at his absolute most kindest. He's going to be, some even said docile. That's been an adjective that's been thrown around a lot today. So there's a chance we see a Trump that has not been present in the primary debates, that hasn't been present, really along the campaign trail. So if a super calm, composed, unrattled Trump is on the stage tonight, that could present a very tricky situation for Secretary Clinton, because to get back to football, it's really tough to prepare for an opponent that you have no tape on. And there's no tape on the calm and docile and subdued Trump. And, there's a chance that in preparation, Clinton's been getting the advice that she's got to really go on the attack. She's got to hammer Trump for some of the statements he's made over the past, basically 18 months of campaigning. And if, Trump appears to be, quote, what's been tossed around all the time, presidential, up on that stage, it's going to be difficult for Hillary to really land a lot of these punches. As David Plouffe said, Obama's 2008 campaign manager, he was telling me earlier, she's really got to look for her opportunities when it comes to attacking Trump. She's got to be careful. She can't overdo it. And both of these candidates really have to focus more on themselves and their opponents for this to be a good night for both of them.
So you also, Alan, you talked to, in addition to David Plouffe, you talked to Brian Fallon, a Hillary for America spokesman. What was he sort of saying about the strategy going in and expectations? We've seen a lot of this over the weekend, both campaigns trying to set the expectations lower and lower. I think the Trump campaign is sort of won out on that just because of their candidate, and people, it's gotten to a point where, remember the primary debates where such as the incredible moment where Donald Trump referenced the size of his anatomy, and so it's like as long as he shows up and and doesn't do that again, he'll have a good night. And Secretary Clinton is sort of she's very accomplished on the diplomatic and foreign stage, and more just generally higher expectations going in. So how is the Clinton campaign setting expectations in going forward, and what is their strategy?
Yeah. So I asked Brian Fallon, Clinton's top spokesman, about how they're preparing for this potential this sort of unknown Trump. Again, what I was talking about earlier, the docile and subdued quote unquote presidential Trump that might be appearing on the stage tonight. And they said that they're not as concerned about it because the way they see it, one night from Trump's not going to change 18 months worth of statements. So to me, I'm taking that statement as saying, regardless of how Trump is on the stage, Clinton has her game plan. It probably does involve plenty of attacks on Trump in these sort of sustained 10-minute long conversations, because the debate format, it's broken up into 6 15-minute segments. There are 3 different topics that'll be discussed, 2 segments each. And I think that each candidate has 2 minutes to give their answer to a question, and then the remaining time, a little more than 10 minutes each, is going to be a back and forth between them. So what Fallon was saying was that Trump's going to get to say what he wants to say in that rebuttal, but they're pretty confident that he's not going to be able to hold a sustained 10-minute long debate head-to-head with Clinton. That's what they're betting on. In the past debates, Clinton got the opportunity to have these one-on-one debates, both against President Obama in 2008 and with Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders this time around. Trump has not yet had that opportunity to have a solely 1v1 debate. I mean, the Republican primary field was packed. At the beginning, there were, people were falling off the stage as this was first starting, and by the end, I think the last debate was either 4 or 3 candidates on the stage. There was never a one-on-one, and Trump hasn't been on that debate stage since early March. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he handles the 1v1 debate. And we also know that Trump hasn't been preparing in the same way that Clinton has. The Trump campaign's been touting this sort of that they're sort of going off the seat of their pants, which again, this is how the Trump campaign's gone the whole time, and it's been very successful for him so far. But it remains to be seen if that strategy can be successful in this one-on-one debate style, where again they're going to have to be going at each other for 10 minutes straight on all these topics. They're not going to get a break, and Clinton's going to be throwing out really heavy information at him that he's going to have to be reacting to in real time, and it's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, I think another thing that works against Trump in this debate format is the fact that you were talking about, you're comparing with the primary debates, and I think something that worked very well for him during the primary debates was like you said, I think by the time the GOP primary debates were over, it was like 4 people, maybe 5 people, but I think he had this tendency where he would sort of, especially early on when there were 10, 11 people on the debate stage, he would sort of just lay back for a while and not have to speak. And then, he would get in at the right moment, have a zinger or 2, and then, go from there. But I think that works to his disadvantage this time because, as you said, it's a one-on-one and it's sort of just they're back and forth for 2 minutes, and then they have to go for the rest of the 10 minutes, or 11 minutes, I guess, on the segment, just go back and forth at each other. And definitely, when you look at that, Hillary Clinton would seem to have the advantage because of her policy chops. But we'll see what happens. Let's talk about the subplot, though, the interesting pre-debate popcorn that we saw this weekend. Going into the debate, it was a nice pregame.
Are you going to talk about Mark Cuban?
I am going to talk about Mark Cuban with our Mark Cuban correspondent,
big time heart,
Alan Smith.
Big time Let's get into this topic.
So we saw on Friday that the Clinton campaign gave Mark Cuban a ringside seat for the big fight.
Ringside's the best way to describe it.
Yes.
I mean, this is sitting front row at like Ali Frazier.
It's been described by the Clinton campaign as the best possible seat that they could have given someone. So that was perceived as an attempt to get into Trump's head, and I think by that count it worked because he responded the next day, Saturday morning tweet or early afternoon tweet, using maybe I'll invite Jennifer Flowers to the debate if Mark Cuban of failed benefactor fame is gonna.
You know what? Honestly, my favorite part of that tweet wasn't even the fact that he threatened to invite Jennifer Flowers, who was someone that former President Bill Clinton admitted that he had an affair with at some point. The best part of that was saying a failed benefactor fame, because Mark Cuban is famous for owning the Dallas Mavericks, being a billionaire, being the star of Shark Tank on ABC. So to say he's a failed benefactor fame is that's a very interesting shot to take at a 2004 reality show hosted by Cuban that didn't really take off.
Yes.
Now, I was actually talking to Brian Fallon specifically about the Mark Cuban invitation. I said, are you nervous at all that this is going to be an unnecessary distraction? I mean, something that Cuban's most famous for is for just belligerently berating the referees as he sits courtside at Dallas Mavericks games. He's been fined probably in upwards of $100,000 throughout his time as an owner for, ripping referees senselessly from the sidelines, really unlike any owner in pro sports. And he said, we're not worried much about a distraction at all, and that Trump's blowing it out of proportion because, this one surrogate who, attacks Clinton frequently is, I mean, not who attacks Clinton, but attacks Trump frequently, is sitting, ringside. Meanwhile, Trump's going to have his 4 or 5 surrogates sitting in the front row, and it's not like they haven't been, at Trump's events, ripping into Secretary Clinton. So, possibly a bigger story than it is. But look, anytime you involve Mark Cuban in a front row situation like this, it's a good story. And I'll admit, when I first heard about this, we were at work on Friday. I told Brett, I said, this isn't even a story. I mean, why do I have to be concerned about this? And I told him later, after realizing just how big the story had blown up to, which even elicited a Trump response on Saturday. Even before that, I said, Brett, I was wrong. It takes a lot for me to say that. I was wrong. Brett, you were right. This is a story.
So the moral of the story is that I am always right. Is that's where you're getting at?
Brett's right. Brett's right. And it makes me feel like that, but Brett's right.
Anyway, it was a good subplot or a pregame show, like I said, to open up the debate. But I guess finally we'll talk about just the state of the race going in, and I think something you said before was a quote from Brian Fallon, which is to me immediately registered as spin, which is that nothing Donald Trump can do, nothing that Trump does tonight can undo the past 18 months of campaigning. That is a great attempt at spin, but I don't buy it because we are seeing a tightening race, probably tighter than ever before. And this is the moment where we've seen, this is where debates are moments where candidates are cemented in people's minds. They can completely change the scope of the race. We saw that in 2012 where Mitt Romney had just 2 months of some of the most awful campaigning that I've ever seen, and completely turned around his fortune with a great debate performance in the first presidential debate. Ultimately, Mitt Romney lost. The fundamentals were always sort of in President Obama's favor. So you can argue that whoever gets the bump out of this debate might revert in the next couple of days anyway. But we're just seeing a very close race right now, and I don't think the implications can be overstated for the next few days and weeks going forward.
Here's the flip side to that spin statement that Brett was talking about. Nothing Trump can do tonight can undo 18 months of campaigning. 18 months of campaigning has Donald Trump tied, slightly behind, or slightly ahead of Hillary Clinton in all these polls.
Yes.
So if nothing Trump can do tonight can undo those 18 months of campaigning, he will still be either barely ahead, barely behind, or tied with Secretary Clinton after tonight. I actually happen to think that the person who has more to gain tonight is Clinton having that first opportunity at Trump, because people that are leaning toward Trump or thinking Trump are doing so specifically because of the things he said in the past, and they might not be hearing some of those same things tonight, so it could be a little bit of a different experience for them. But Secretary Clinton has a time, for the first time, to really address Donald Trump with Donald Trump next to her, and I think it's an opportunity that she really sorely needs.
But to add those tightening polls, we've seen, I think Ohio is let's break down the electoral map a little bit. So Ohio is leaning very much in Trump's column. Florida is also sort of trending that way. Iowa as well. Nevada almost a little bit.
Iowa, did he say?
Yes, Iowa.
New Hampshire is getting close.
New Hampshire's getting close.
Closer.
I think that this is, we've talked about this before, but from my perspective, the two most important states right now are New Hampshire and Colorado. And a close third is Pennsylvania, because Pennsylvania is all of a sudden getting tight. Pennsylvania has 20 electoral votes. Donald Trump, it was sort of that was the wall, the first plank in the wall for Hillary Clinton if Donald Trump were to win Florida and Ohio and even Iowa. And that's why people have said his path to victory is so much harder than Hillary Clinton's, but he seems to be creeping up there. Another way he could win is by flipping Colorado and New Hampshire, which are 9 and 4 electoral votes, respectively. And I think we've seen polls in Colorado the past couple days come out where he's actually leading and starting to take advantage there. I think Hillary Clinton still has an advantage in New Hampshire, but it's getting a lot closer, as you said. But I guess, the main thing is that we have not only have we seen the national polls tighten, but I think Donald Trump has sort of, going into this first debate, broken the lock on the Electoral College map.
Now, I know that Brett said he's riding very high on New Hampshire and Colorado, and look, that's all good and fine. But to me, since day one, it's always been the three most important states. Number 1, Pennsylvania. Number 2, Ohio. Number 3, Florida. Donald Trump wins those 3 states, he's the president. It's almost guaranteed, unless Hillary's able to flip some other states that voted Republican in the past. I happen to be from Pennsylvania. I went to school. I spent years in Ohio. Everyone I know in those 2 states, there's not a single person that says Trump can't win there. All of them are saying they're really seeing a lot of momentum for Trump. And to me, those are his 2 most important states. Ohio's picked the presidential election winner every year since 1964. The last time they didn't get it right was with Kennedy in '60. And Pennsylvania hasn't voted for a Republican since 1988 with George H.W. Bush. But again, it just seems likely that it's going to be very close, and if it's close, it could flip. And again, those 3 states flip, it's over. So I expect to see both candidates really focusing in on that. And look, if Trump wants to spend his time going to New Hampshire, he can do that. It's not going to be a good idea.
Yeah, I think we have Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. I think they have a joint event coming up in New Hampshire this week.
That's Brett trying to say, Alan, you were wrong about that Mark Cuban story. You're also going to be wrong about New Hampshire, which, if I am, I'll fully admit it once again in the future. But for now, I'm going to say I'm right.
All right. Well, do we have any questions?
We had one question.
Okay.
One question that was a little good.
Really interesting. They said, who do you think will be watching football, Democrats or Republicans?
That's a good question.
Oh, God.
The question
So
is,
yeah.
who do you think will be watching, was more likely to watch football, Republicans or Democrats?
There was actually a poll that was sent to my inbox the other day. So this is a poll. I don't know how scientific it was. The poll said by almost a 2-to-1 margin that it was more likely Republicans would be watching football. Again, I'm not entirely sure of the methods of that poll. I don't think anyone's going to be watching football over this. We're talking about Saints-Falcons. They're not winning the Super Bowl this year, guys. I'm sorry. It's not happening. If 5 million people watch this game, I will be personally upset if it's 5 million people that don't live in New Orleans or Atlanta. This is the event of the century. There's no downplaying it. Titanic debate. This is as good as it gets in television. Saints-Falcons is about as mediocre as it gets in television.
I agree.
It's going to be a terrible game. No one cares.
I agree, and I think if you look at the statement from, or some of the things that ESPN executives have said over the past couple of days, I think they're expecting sort of a bloodbath tonight in terms of ratings-wise. So I don't think they're expecting a lot of people to watch either.
I honestly hope the stadium's like a quarter full. If that stadium's sold out and rocking, that's going to be odd. What are they going to do? Play the debate in there? I mean, these are also voters that have to see the debate.
Yeah.
Who knows? Georgia, Louisiana. We know Georgia might be in play.
Georgia is in play.
I haven't seen Louisiana polled in a while.
I don't know. Georgia,
who knows?
Georgia is probably trending more toward Mr. Trump.
Oh, yeah. Georgia should be trending toward Trump, but you never know. 2016's been a crazy year.
All right.
And tonight's going to be the craziest part of it.
Oh, we do it. We have another
question. All right. Let's shoot for one more.
How many times will the word deplorable be said tonight?
0. No. 0 by Clinton, and it'll be said 4 times by Trump.
I would go over. On that. Over 4. If
Trump could walk into a trap with this deplorable statement, because the comeback from Hillary is going to be like, do you not think racism and Islamophobia and xenophobia, is that not deplorable? And these are the feelings that have been expressed by some in the alt-right, which I gave a speech about denouncing previously, and it wasn't met with much scorn from your camp.
That's a long explanation.
It didn't take me too long.
All he has to that was long, and then all he has to do is come back with you disparaged millions, tens of millions of good Americans.
That's what I have to say about that answer.
Any more questions?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Everyone else is asking about your ties.
Whose tie do they figure is better?
Let's not get into that.
All right.
If they don't like both of these ties, well...
Oh, boy.
They're viewers, so they're very important. You're probably right.
All right. Well, thanks all you guys for watching. We will see which debate moments that we love, which ones make us wow, and which ones make us laugh tonight. And we'll be back with much more.
I like both the ties.
Both here on Facebook Live later tonight, and you can check us out all our coverage on BusinessInsider.com. Thanks again for watching. We'll talk to you later.